Good morning. My name is Brian Wheeler, Director of Communications for the City of Charlottesville. Welcome to Cville360, a program to inform and engage the Charlottesville community. Cville360 is available on our streaming sites, Comcast Channel 10, and on a companion Zoom webinar, so you can tune in live and on demand. The program allows us to engage our community and provide you access to city leaders, especially during this time of the coronavirus pandemic. We use the Zoom webinar so you can join the broadcast and ask questions of our guest. If you want to try the webinar, visit charlottesville.gov/Zoom for the registration link, which appears at the bottom of the page. When we take questions, we will allow up to 8 people to address our guest, and you have up to 3 minutes to ask a question or make a comment on the topic being discussed. Today's show is all about the charitable connections the Charlottesville Police Department is making in our community. We have 4 guests today, and we're joined on Zoom by 2 of our community partners. And let me get them on the screen here so you can see them. And we have Myra Anderson and Destiny Johnson, so thank you for joining us as our community partners. We also have Police Officer Jack Samar, and throughout the conversation, I'll be joined in studio by Charlottesville Police Chief RaShall Brackney. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We're going to get to our introductions in just a moment, but first I want to focus on a recap of Halloween, believe it or not, because Chief, last time you were on the program, we were talking about how to celebrate a safe Halloween, and you were talking about Charlottesville Night Out, the Halloween edition. So I couldn't be there. I know you were there. How did it go?
It was absolutely amazing. We thought we would have about 250 to 300 participants. Last count, we were well over 700, and we stopped at least 150 to 200 cars that were still trying to get in after our deadline. So we were supposed to be there from 2 to 4. We wrapped up with our last car at 5:30. It was just absolutely phenomenal. And then we had the spooky car contest, which was a huge hit. And we celebrated that on our Facebook page, as well as the best decorated booth. And that was a hit as well. As a matter of fact, Myra Anderson, when she was representing 100 Black Women of Charlottesville, their booth actually won. We're excited, and we think that this might be an annual tradition for us as a lesson that we've learned about how we can, as I always say, let's physically distance so that we can socially connect.
Yeah.
Huge hit.
Well, that's great. And we're glad you were able to make that happen. I know you had a lot of partners, Charlottesville Police Foundation, Crutchfield, and many others, to name a few. We don't have to go through the whole list.
Oh, yes. Just go on our website.
We'll leave someone out.
Yeah, go on the website. Huge, huge hit. Charlottesville is an amazing, generous community, generous in spirit, generous in their resources. I'm really trying to make sure that we connect with the community in ways that we have not been able to connect over the last 6-7 months.
That's great. Well, we're going to do some brief introductions here with each of our guests, and we will start with Officer Jack Samar. And Officer, I wonder if you could share with the audience how long you've worked for the city and what inspired you to join the force.
Good morning, sir. I've been with the city now for 18 months. I've been a sworn officer for just shy of 1 year after completing the academy. And my desire to join the force was really just the community here in Charlottesville. I mean, I know I wanted to live here, and I really loved the people that were here, and I just wanted to help out as much as possible with those people.
That's great. Thank you. And Officer Samar is going to talk about the Winter Wool Campaign and a winter clothing drive. Next, let's introduce Myra Anderson. And I'm going to spotlight her video. Good morning, Myra. I wonder if you could share a few words about your charitable project. You'll get to describe it in depth later in the program. So give us a quick sound bite. What do you call it? What is it providing the community? And then maybe you could share something the pandemic has taught you.
The project is called Stress Relief Stockings, and basically it's an opportunity to provide some outreach around the holidays to individuals in our community who are mentally struggling. about the pandemic and what I've learned. Gosh, I've learned so many lessons, but I think the most prevalent is just to not take relationships and human connection for granted. I never realized just how connected I am to other people, like just being able to hug people and be around people. And it really looked different, as we've been going through this pandemic and not being able to be so close to our loved ones. So the lesson that I learned is to just not take that for granted.
Excellent. And next we will go to Destiny Johnson. And Destiny, I want you to share a few words about your project. What do you call it? What is it providing the community? And then tell us something you've learned about living through a pandemic. And Destiny, we can't hear you at the moment. We still can't hear you. It does look like you're unmuted. Maybe if you get a little closer.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can, yep.
So my project is called Mask Up Cville, protecting ourselves while feeding our community. One thing I've learned during COVID is just not to take anything for granted anymore and just be grateful for what I have.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. So we're going to start with Officer Samar and talk about the Winter Wool Campaign. And I guess, Officer Samar, my first question is, what is the Winter Wool Campaign?
So, sir, the Winter Wool Campaign is basically a charitable event that we do with the department among the officers, where we donate funds to a charity of our choosing, and we're allowed to grow out our beards and basically curb the grooming standards for facial hair throughout the winter months. Also, officers who don't wish to grow out their beards can donate and paint their fingernails and other fun activities.
All right. And over what time period are you doing this?
Until March 1st.
All right. And I was
from November 1st to March 1st.
And I was sharing on the air, or before we got on the air, that it would take me way beyond March 1st to make any contribution to winter wool. That is not a gene I inherited. It's hard to come by up here.
That's okay. You can make a donation, though, and wear crazy socks or paint your fingernails. So we're doing other things for those of us who are a bit challenged in the chin. How's that?
Good to know. And Officer Samar, it's my understanding that in the past, officers contributed their own money to participate. Is that how it worked then?
Yes, sir. In the past, that's exactly how it worked. Would be officers would contribute just their funds. But this year, what we're actually emphasizing on is not just the officers contributing funds, but also the community and possibly local businesses. You can go on through Facebook and look at the police department website, and there's links in there so that anyone can give. Because our real big goal is to try to get toys in the hands of children, this holiday season.
That's great. And talk about the toy lift as this year's beneficiary. Why did you choose them?
Well, the big opportunity with the toy lift was we just had a partner that was really willing to engage with us in extreme measures. The fact that when we would do something, they wanted to be a part of it. And our goal is by December 15th that we can get $10,000 so that we can try to get toys in the hands of all the children, within the city.
So the campaign will be running for a longer period of time, but you've got a short-term goal to raise $10,000.
Yes, sir.
That would be huge. What does the community need to do to help you?
All they need to do is they can log on to Facebook and go onto the department's website, and anyone can go on there. You can donate $1, you can donate $500, whatever you see fit to help out with the cause. And underneath the Facebook, there is a link to the toy lift, and just donate through the system.
Great. And let's come back to the studio and Chief Brackney. I mean, this is more than, growing a beard for some of your staff. Tell us how else this helps build relationships in the community.
So this is significant. This is the third year that we've been doing it since my tenure here. What makes this year different also is The past 2 years, we've worked with UVA, their child pediatric unit for cancer. This year, the officers voted on what charitable organization they would like to participate in as well. And when they landed on the Toys for Charities, is we had a partner who very much wanted to work with us, but also, two, understanding the impact of the pandemic on families and communities around here. That, I remember waking up as a child and you were always excited about the gifts that would be underneath the tree. There are going to be so many children this year, whether it's, for Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, that are not going to have gifts that they would normally have. And these are the types of endeavors that we're interested in. It just doesn't make a connection for the moment. You always remember where that toy came from. Mm-hmm. I remember my uncle, and we were extremely poor, who purchased our toys. And that is such a fond memory, and that connection can't be severed. This is one more way that Charlottesville Police Department is connecting with the community and meeting their motto of service beyond the call. It's not just the 911 call or the call of duty. It's really showing that servant leadership, those servant qualities to the community that entrust us to protect them.
Yeah, I think it's been great on this program. We've been able to show a different side of the police department, whether it's Halloween or now what you're doing heading into these holidays, and it's great to see our employees so engaged in giving back in this way.
Absolutely, and if I can just add, that's why it's so important that the community partners that you have on, that they're interested. They're the ones who are reaching out to us and asking to partner with us. So it now is a collaboration that's going both ways.
Yep. And we will get to Destiny and Myra in just a moment. I want to remind our audience who's listening right now on Comcast or on the webinar, if you want to join the broadcast and ask a question, you can click the raise hand icon in the Zoom webinar. You can also press *9 if you're joining us via telephone, and we'll bring you right on the program, and you can ask a question of our guest. So I will keep an eye on that cue. Officer Samar, is there anything you want to add about winter wool before we go to the next project? Whoop, and you're muted. There you go.
Apologize about that.
That's all right.
The chief is absolutely correct. The biggest opportunity is just the fact that we really want to make sure that everyone has that opportunity to have a good holiday, especially all the kids, because everyone remembers the toy.
And the women on the force, what do you tell them about participating in this project?
Actually, there are several of them that have chosen to paint their fingernails during the event.
All right. And that's something they wouldn't be allowed to do normally.
No.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Well, next we're going to go straight into the clothing drive. So tell us a little bit about what that project's all about.
So with that project, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get as much clothing as possible so that we can help our homeless population here in the city, especially heading into the winter months. We want to make sure that everyone is able to get clothed and be able to survive, and maybe, have something that they didn't have before. There were officers that were handing out clothing the other day, and there was a gentleman that was absolutely excited because of the hoodie that he got, because he didn't have one before, and he just wanted one so that he could stay a little bit warm during the winter months.
Yep. And I'll share that, one of the things I saw Chief Brackney recently, one of your officers on a Segway was making his rounds around downtown Charlottesville, was going through Market Street Park, and there was somebody who was laying down, in the park, and he paused on his Segway and asked him if he needed anything. Do you have the clothing and that you need right now? And so I think that was an example of where you are already reaching out to people and asking how we can help them.
And that's right. Those aren't the things that make headlines at all or ever. For the most part, the outreach that our officers do, it's quiet. No one's asking for recognition. They're just about getting it done to meet the community's needs. And our unsheltered population and our homeless population doesn't necessarily look the way we think. We have children, teenagers who couch surf. They don't have a stable residence. So when you have an unstable residence or address, the likelihood that you can get support services through Health and Human Services or Social Services, clothing, it's just really a challenge. And we're willing to take those donations of gently worn or new clothing. We often in this pandemic, we would ask that it be new clothing, still sealed, and that they could drop off at the police station, so that we are always being mindful of that we are in a pandemic.
Yep. So the police station lobby is open for that kind of business. You can come in and make these donations.
Absolutely. Just make sure that you notify the staff that it's for that. And we're taking all sorts of precautions as we interact with the public, who definitely have a charitable spirit here in Charlottesville.
And Officer Samar will give you the last word on the clothing drive. Anything else you want to add on that project?
No, just, everyone, please, thank you very much for all the donations that everyone has made so far. And thank you for those that continuously help us out with our causes, because, we are the community just like you, and we just really want to help you.
Great. And Officer Samar, stay with us, because you may get a question from the audience, and we may want to
Yes, sir.
come back and get some additional comments from you. But next, I want to go to Myra Anderson. And let me put the spotlight on Myra here. Myra, if you could tell us about your project with the stress relief stockings.
Yes, so the stress relief stockings is actually like a spin-off from the Bags of Hope, which was an initiative from spring during the pandemic that I partnered with the Charlottesville Police Department to distribute anti-stress bags with all kinds of things in them to individuals in the community who were mentally struggling during the pandemic, during the beginning. And so these stress relief stockings are actually kind of have the same theme, targeting individuals who are mentally struggling or will be around the holidays. Usually, a lot of times people are already having issues around the holidays, and then the fact that we're in a pandemic makes it even more challenging. So a lot of times we focus on, kids and all the stuff about the holidays, but one group that often gets overlooked are those who have mental health struggles. So these stress relief stockings will go directly to them. They will have all types of things in them, anti-stress toys, journals. We're gonna have gift cards in them, holiday treats, holiday candies, and it will even include a holiday card with myself, as well as a mental health resource list of local resources and online resources, and also tips for coping through the pandemic. All this stuff in a nice little stocking that we will assemble at the Charlottesville Police Department when it gets closer to Christmas, and they will be distributed amongst the CIT officers through the department. So I'm incredibly excited about this.
And remind folks what a CIC officer is.
Crisis intervention team, and those are officers that specifically go out to handle mental health phone calls and have gotten special training to be able to deal with people when they're in mental health crisis. So the reason these stockings are going to be distributed through them is because they are the officers through the department who are most likely to encounter people who are in mental health distress. And so in addition, during this time period where we will have these stockings distributed, when they answer these calls, they will be able to offer them one of these stockings, which again, will have a number of resources as well as a gift card. We're hoping to get gift cards to local coffee shops so that people can go have coffee or have tea, as well as all of the other items that I already mentioned.
Great. And Chief Brackney, tell us about how you got to know Myra and the Bags of Hope project and how this got started.
So what's so interesting is Myra and I met about 2 years ago. And Myra was literally brave enough. I was new to the community, and she wrote this note asking, could we connect? I didn't know about Myra, didn't know what an advocate she was for the mental health community. And we've been connecting on projects since that moment. Myra was one of the first to see, long before the bills around the Marcus Alert or these mental health encounters between police officers and those who are in crises, that the outcome most often across the nation has a negative outcome when there's a police encounter with someone who's in mental health crises. And since that time, we've been attempting to make sure that we create healthier relationships between the police and the mental health community that we serve and that we support, and also to take the stigma out of those relationships and interactions, because most of it is based on, in Virginia, where we criminalize those in mental health crises. So how do we then create at least more trusting relationships that have much more positive outcomes? Mm-hmm. So we've been partnering with Myra, and we're just honored that she wanted us to be part of the Bags of Hope and that she was willing to continue that project, with the Stockings for Support for our adults and those, even in seniors who are lonely and feeling much more anxiety, depression, as the upcoming holidays quickly come upon us.
And Myra, I want to ask you, what do you need to help make this project happen?
Good question. We need financial support to be able to get gift cards. So that can go two ways. We can have people if they would like to purchase a gift card and drop it off at the police department and say that it's for stress relief stockings. We'll have a card box there, or they can make direct donations. They can go to the Brave Souls on Fire page on Facebook, and there is a donation link that has to do with stress relief stockings, and they can make a direct donation. So we're hoping to get enough support around this to be able to get all of the items that I listed that are going to be a part of the stockings.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, stand by because we may have questions for you.
Okay.
All right. Next, we're going to go to Destiny Johnson. And Destiny, remember, you may have to get close to your computer so that we can hear you. And tell us about Des Money Honey Designs. What is that, and how did it get started?
That is my business. It got started by me really just watching my aunt, and I thought what she did was really cool, so I wanted to try it too. And I never would thought it would come this far, but it did. It's a customization business. I customize really anything somebody wants. You can get pictures on cups, anything. You can just get whatever you want and give it away. That's really just how it came to be.
And give me some examples of things you customize.
I customize shirts, cups, I could do wall decals, I could really just do...
And you may have to get close to the computer again.
I try my best to do anything that somebody wants. I do masks. I do cups, wall decals,
all
anything.
the ones I wear.
So I think we may have an example in the studio that we can show off here. Is that one of your projects? Did you help the chief with that mask?
As a matter of fact, Destiny makes all my masks. Her masks have gone viral, but there's actually an interesting connection. It was Myra who first commissioned Destiny to do my mask that's really sparkly, the one that has all the chief sparkles on it. And I didn't realize that until we met one day, that it was Destiny who's been designing all of my masks, including the ones that have a logo of Charlottesville Police Department, has chief on the other side, and it is the envy of everyone in our police department. Wait, they're shaking their head. I see Officer Samar shaking his head.
That's great. Destiny, tell us about how much time you've spent making these masks. How many have you made, do you think?
So far, I have made 30 masks for this donation, fundraiser. And it took a little longer than it usually does because I tie-dye each mask. It took about an hour, I would say, hour and a half in total, with cutting everything to put on the mask and getting all my materials and waiting for stuff to get ready.
And now, Destiny, you're already a business owner. How old are you and what grade are you in?
I'm 12 in the 7th grade,
All right.
I'm a student at Tandem's Friend School.
Great. Well, it's great to see a young entrepreneur in the community doing good work. Chief, how do you see Destiny's work impacting the community?
So another fact, if you attended the Halloween Cville Night Out, we commissioned Destiny. She made all of our masks that we were wearing that had the pumpkins. They had vampire wings. She made me a special one that was glittered and glitzed out, as is Destiny's style when it comes to the work that she does. But also, too, it gives us an opportunity to highlight and lift up a young entrepreneur in this community who's not only an entrepreneur, but has a giving spirit. They started the Mask Up Cville to make sure they could get masks out to people who might not be able to afford or get masks. She's now getting the mask donations for Thanksgiving, and I don't think she told you why she's doing the mask, nor has she showed the mask, but she's raising money to be able to feed those persons who can't feed themselves or don't have opportunities to have good food over the Thanksgiving holiday. So she has not said that and has been extremely demure in that. So I know she has some of her masks even ready, as I saw the prototypes in our text.
I'm going to hold up Destiny's flyer here, see if I can get it going in the right direction. And Destiny, tell us about your project and how much money you're trying to raise, and tell us what you're going to do.
So my project is to feed like the less fortunate or people who don't have the right things to get the food they need. People can buy a mask, and the money from the mask will go towards a gift card for people who need it, or you can directly donate to my Cash App or Venmo for to buy gift cards for that. Our goal is $500, but we would like to triple or double that to feed more families. Each family would get a gift card, and if you know any families that need this type of help, please let us know.
That's great.
You can email me at 08dmhd@gmail.com for if you have any families that you know or if you want to help in any way.
Excellent. So that email address again is 08dmhd@gmail.com, and you can help Destiny with her project there. So I guess another question for everyone on the panel and here today is, how the police department's been involved in charitable work for a long time. How is this different today than maybe in years past? Maybe Officer Samar, maybe you could talk about this change.
So as Chief Brackney said, the biggest thing was that our charitable organization was actually something that was chosen by the officers, by us, the rank and file. An email went out and they listed several different charities, and they said, which one do you feel impacts the department the most? Which one do you feel touches you the most? And overwhelming majority of us chose the toy lift because we all remember, as the chief said, we all remember the toys that we got, and we all remember where they came from. And honestly, helping out the children can't find much of a better cause.
That's great. And, for Myra and Destiny, you've been engaged with the police department now in probably a different way than you have in the past. What do you see, what kind of impact does this have on your thinking?
Before I bagged the whole project, I was not even clear that you could partner with the police department on any type of project. So the experience of working with the police department has definitely shed a new light, given me a different perspective just of community policing and working together. So I feel like what I have learned or what has stood out to me about this is just working together, because at the end of the day, we're both for community. I'm out here trying to do things in the community. They're serving that same community. So what a beautiful relationship it is for us to work together for the people that we both want to be safe and fed and clothed and mentally well, all of these things.
And Destiny, what about you? How have you noticed this changing your thinking?
So as a child, I was scared of the police, but now working with them has put a whole new outlook on how things really run, and just it makes you feel safer. One, and two, just knowing that you can partner up with people to help people who need help, and
Thank you. That's great. And Chief Brackney, what are your observations about how this approach has impacted the department and the community?
So, when I arrived, much like every other police department, we were doing these coffee with a cop or ice cream with a cop, and we were doing a lot of these one-off kind of events, and I don't know if we were making that penetration into the community that had the sustained relationships that we would need to build and foster the type of trust and legitimacy that we were so desperate to achieve in this community. But it also allowed me to see how many giving, generous people are in the community. And often because we don't know each other, we work at cross purposes and we don't bring together all of our resources. So you're expending time, energy, and money when you could be pulling all of those resources together. And then you see how connected you really are on a human level, and with the things that you care about and that you're passionate about. Passionate about our children, passionate about those who are struggling, passionate about those who are not just, who are just striving to just be okay, but can we get them to a healthier space where they're thriving in Charlottesville? I am just tickled pink every time I text Destiny's mom, Miss Johnson, about just how proud I am of this young woman who is 12 years old, is more poised than I was ever at 12 years old, and has such a generous spirit. And, this isn't her first effort. You can see her on, I think it was NBC 29 or one of the channels, where she raised money for Legacy Eats to feed individuals during the pandemic who were experiencing, food insecurity. So this young lady is absolutely dynamic. And I think you build deeper, stronger relationships when you're intentional about the way that you connect.
Great. And I want to thank all of our panelists for joining us today. Jack Samar, Myra Anderson, Destiny Johnson, and Destiny definitely has a future in television, I think. She's doing a good job on camera there and is very comfortable. Now, part of that's probably because you're having to do Zoom for your classes sometimes, aren't you? Well, I can tell you're going to do really well, and we wish you all the best with your business endeavors. All right, we're going to finish up here. And I just want to say that that concludes today's program. And I do want to make a couple brief announcements. First, tomorrow is Veterans Day, and City Hall will be closed for business. And please join me in thanking our veterans for their service to our country. And I also want to thank those who currently are serving in the armed forces, and especially their families who provide them love and support. Second, we're hearing very encouraging news about the development of a coronavirus vaccine, but please remember, we've got many months ahead of us, and we will need to keep practicing all of those healthy behaviors that we've gotten used to. This is no time to let our guard down. We need to keep washing our hands. We need to keep wearing our mask, and Destiny can make some really good masks. And we need to keep practicing social distancing, especially during the upcoming holiday season. Please contact me with your feedback and ideas for future topics and guests. Thank you for watching, and please stay healthy.